Hello, my name is Brendan Decora, and I want to welcome you to my podcast, Pro Audio Profiles. Here, I'm going to interview recording engineers, mixers, producers, and others in the pro audio field. Together, we're going to learn how you can make amazing records that can give your listeners goosebumps. Welcome to the show. On today's show, we have Keith Munson. He's the assistant manager at EastWest Studios and has credits with Lizzy the Triggerman, Mijares, and Radiator King. Enjoy. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Pleasure to have you.
Well, welcome to my house.
Yeah. Awesome. This is, and by the way, we are in EastWest Studios, Studio 2.
Studio 2 was a phenomenal room.
Yeah. One of the best in the city, I think.
I might be biased, but I would say so.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'd like to start with a little bit of your backstory, if you don't mind. Like, how did you get to where you are? That kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Mostly by dumb luck, because that's, the best way to do anything is just to kind of accidentally fall upwards and end up where you're at.
Right.
So I went to college for music. I was a trombone player. Mm-hmm. I did my undergrad at CU Boulder, and then my master's at Arizona State.
That's right. I forgot you're from Boulder.
Yeah.
I lived in Boulder for a long time, too.
Beautiful town. My folks still live in Longmont, so I still go back frequently.
Cool. Nice.
It's nice because, I just don't have to scrape my windshield here.
Exactly.
So I did, and then I did my master's at ASU and floated around the Phoenix area for a number of years.
Okay.
Doing the freelance musician thing and working a side gig of fixing sewing machines just to, support the music habit. Mm-hmm. Then I played a session at the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences in Phoenix.
Right.
Looked around and thought, yeah, I could do this. So I enrolled in the program there, nice. did that, moved out to LA and carpet bombed my resume around to any email that didn't kick back.
Right.
But got an introduction via the internship coordination program there to Candace, who's the manager here.
Right.
They happened to have a position opening because Jeff Ellis at the time had just left to go be Frank Ocean's engineer. Mm-hmm. So there was an upward vacuum. Somebody became a full-time assistant, and they needed an intern, and I happened to hit the right time.
Right.
And then just never left. I haven't had a reason to leave. They haven't told me to stop coming back, so.
Awesome. And now you're assistant manager, right?
And now I'm the assistant manager. So I did the internship here, and that lasted about 6 weeks to 2 months. Mm-hmm. As it, you know what the hours are like.
Yeah. That's right.
And then I was a runner here for a number of years, and was moving up to a staff assistant, and working on becoming a freelance engineer.
Right.
When Blake Rogers, who was Candace's assistant, moved up to the EastWest Sounds, our parent company, and to handle the marketing there, needed help in the front office, and just kind of, you seem to know what you're doing.
Right.
No, I don't. But you seem to know what you're doing. Let's try this. Let's give this shift a shot. And it just kind of it's worked.
Nice.
It's fun, and I still get to do some engineering on the side to keep my chops up, help train the junior staff, and then that's the chaos part of that's fun.
Right. Cool. So that's awesome. It's it sounds like you've had a long run here. How long have you been at EastWest?
Somewhere between 3 weeks and a lifetime. 12 years.
12 years.
I started as an intern almost exactly 12 years ago.
Nice.
And I've been working in the front office as the assistant manager for 8 years now.
Wow. I can't believe it's been that long.
I mean, there's kind of 2 years of dead time for COVID.
Yeah,
but
that's
still.
true. It doesn't really count.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just a big void.
It all blurs together anyway.
Right.
Didn't I just work on that project? Oh, God, that was 7 years ago.
Right. Right. Exactly. So when you're engineering, a lot of what I talk about on the podcast is kind of how to, get great results from your artist and, that kind of thing, like inspiring your artist. When you're preparing for a session, how do you prepare the artist for that? Is that something you consider, or like what setup stuff do you do?
Oh, that's a deep question. Really try and not be in their way, just facilitate them. So you kind of have to be prepared for that little bit of chaos. You need to say, oh, can we do this? Sure. How the hell do we do that? Yeah, let's try this.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna do this. Give me a minute to figure this out. But you try and get as much of that. Well, they might ask for this. They might ask for that. Mm-hmm. Okay, if they want to do this, they're probably going to ask for that. And you kind of help run a few scenarios through your head just to kind of be mentally prepared for it.
Right.
So that you have an idea. It's like, oh, if he wants to do that, we can do this way. This will work like that. Right. I've got somebody that's hitting me up that wants to do a full hour-long set on tape coming up in a couple of weeks.
On tape?
On tape.
But there's
or
only
in a couple of months.
16 minutes per reel. Like,
yeah.
How does that work?
They might want to run it at 15 IPs, but that's still only half an hour.
Yeah, maybe
so
7.
I'm trying to figure out if I need 2 tape machines to go.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
But even then, that's...
Yeah. I mean, obviously that happened a lot back in the day.
Back in the day.
Nowadays, we don't think about those
We're not,
things.
we just think, oh, and you know, there's a lot of other logistics that go into it.
Right.
So it's just having to think about what do I need to do to tell them no or steer them into the better way, or if they're adamant about doing it, how do I make it work?
Right.
Because if that's how I make it work, that's how I make it work.
Right. And I'm sure there's a lot of parallels between, you making it work as an engineer versus also just as an assistant manager trying to arrange everything and book the session, coordinate rentals, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Nice. And just most of it's in the scheduling. The hardest part is managing the staff.
Right.
Because,
the staff, not the studio calendar.
Well, it's part of it. But having it, making sure that the right assistant is with the right engineer for that project.
Right.
And personality matching. Because I expect all of the assistant engineers here to be at a baseline technical competency.
Of course.
Because otherwise, what are we doing here?
Why are they here?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a matter of, well, you get along with this guy. Okay. Your personality kind of fits them. That'll go great. Right. And generally we do a good job. Sometimes there's, some people have bad days because we are human.
Of course.
We just try and minimize those. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
But that's what? Wow, sorry, I'm getting blown up. And that's the other side of the hard part of being the manager thing is there's a little bit of a constantness.
Right. Phone is always ringing.
Phone is always ringing.
Yeah.
Even at 1:30 in the morning when the alarm's going off.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's the gig.
Yeah. Do you ever, you talk about matching the staff with the clients. Do you ever think about, obviously the assistant engineer needs to get along with the engineer because that's the main person they're going to interface with. But do you ever consider like with the artist as well? Or
Yes. I mean, a lot of what needs to happen in a control room is vibe.
Yeah.
Vibe is everything. And I always try and impress upon all of the tours that I give and the interviewees that come through and most importantly, anybody that's on staff here is absolutely vibe. Vibe is everything. You get a gig by about 60% vibe, 40% ability. You keep a gig by 90% vibe, 10% ability.
That's true. That's interesting.
If they know he's easy to work with, he's great. Everything's technically handled. He's fine. I'm not worried about that. I can be in a control room with him for 12 hours for a month, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for a month, and not want to strangle him.
Exactly.
Or her, or them, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. How do you keep up with new recording technologies and incorporated that into the studio? I mean, obviously, this place is based around vintage gear, so probably not as much of that. But
a lot of it, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, you're really just capturing noise and making it as cohesive as possible. So there's not a lot of new technology that does that better. There's it's not that the old technology is better, it's just different ways of working. So it's all about adapting to workflows. Right. I mean, the biggest change that's happened in recording is the computer.
Of course.
And it replaced the tape machine. So it made a lot of things a lot easier, but a lot of the engineering work a hell of a lot harder. Yeah. Because now you have to worry about software updates and plug-in compatibilities and versions. And, we need to go back to this song that I tracked in this version. from 10 years ago. Can I get, oh, this is not going to open on this.
Yeah.
How do we find an old hard drive?
Right.
Just, a little bit of headaches of recall.
Of course.
But the toys the tools are still essentially the same.
Right.
And once again, vibe.
Yeah.
Because if you can create an atmosphere for an artist to work in, that's really the part that's the most important.
Right. And that's, obviously, that's a huge part of the whole experience. Mm-hmm. It's interesting what has been done here where, the current owner remodeled the place, but didn't touch the actual studios. Mm-hmm. Like out in the lounges and all the common areas is totally modern and very cool
and vibey, and
totally
it feels
vibey,
like a hotel where you're not on edge the minute you walk in the door. You feel welcome, and there's a kitchen, so occasionally we'll bake cookies or banana bread or have somebody cooking, and there's that smell thing that just kind of makes you feel at home or makes you feel at ease. And then, like I always say, I'm glad he didn't touch the rooms, because you could repaint the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
But would you make it better?
Right.
Enjoy it for what it is, and use it. And it's all of the rooms here are very versatile spaces.
Yeah.
And you can if you need isolation, you can make isolation. If you want to have everybody playing in the room at the same time, playing the same song, novel concept, you can do that, and you can embrace the bleed and help mic it in a way that it enhances and doesn't make a cacophony.
Well, yeah, these rooms were built back when that was the standard operation. Yeah.
Yeah, we have this instrumentation. Let's get them all in the same room, playing all the same song, playing in tune with each other.
Right.
Print it. We're done. Next song.
Awesome. I just want to take a quick break and tell you about my free guide detailing my techniques for recording huge snare sounds. Check it out now at brandondecora.com/huge snare. And now back to the show. So just for a bit of background, can you go over some of,
some points?
Well, just summarize some of the artists that have been through EastWest.
Oh man. Okay.
And summarize, because we could talk about this
for hours. The safest thing to do would be go check out the website, eastweststudios.com.
Okay.
Because there's a comprehensive list of the whole building, as well as in each room, kind of a timeline of, this was done here, this was done in this year, this was done in this year, and all in that room. But to summarize, like this room alone was kind of the rock and roll room. It did a lot of the TV themes from the shows in the 60s and 70s, like Batman, Bonanza, I Dream of Jeannie, Green Acres.
I didn't know I Dream of Jeannie was done in here. That's awesome.
MASH.
Nice.
Then it became the rock and roll room in the 70s when people found they really liked drums in here. So part of AC/DC Back in Black, System of a Down, Toxicity, most of the Chili Peppers records, Tom Petty Wildflowers, Whitney Houston, I'll Always Love You, Muse, Second Law and Absolution, Weezer Green album? I don't remember which Weezer album. But yeah. And that's just this room.
That's just only this room.
In the building, everybody from Sinatra to Elvis and the Beach Boys to Doja Cat, Justin Timberlake, Ariana Grande.
Right.
I hope my goal is, the amount of history that we have here that people look back at is like, oh my God, these records in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. In another 30, 40, 50, 60 years, I want people to be looking back today, see, those records from the aughts, the 10s, the 20s, that they're still, I want this place just to be working and be a beacon for musicians.
Right, for sure. Nice. And how do you, when sometimes artists will book very long sessions, and like most studios in LA, the standard day is 12 hours if you book the day.
Yeah.
How do you help artists to stay focused and motivated during such long hours?
It's impossible. Sometimes you have a deadline and you all have a common goal and you want to get it done. Sometimes you hit the zone and you might go for 14 to 16. But when the muse is singing, you have to follow it. And if it's having an off day, maybe you call it a little earlier, get some sleep, ideally, and come back tomorrow.
Right.
It's hard to do because, like most vocalists, I've worked with very few vocalists that can sing for more than 4 hours at a stretch.
Right.
Especially hyper focused. And that's asking a lot. Even when I was playing horn, 4 hours of the horn on my face in one stretch is a lot.
Yeah.
Especially if it's demanding and taxing. And I mean, the best I used to do when I was playing all the time was maybe 2 hours of solid, intense.
Right.
And then my lips would feel like hamburger. And I can imagine that's what the vocal cords would feel like.
Right. Right.
So you do what you can, and then you make sure that you're doing your best work.
Right.
So you kind of just follow the vibe, read the room.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Can you give us an example of a particularly challenging artist or situation you've been in the studio and how you've navigated that?
There was one particular session. I'm not going to say who the artist, the producer was.
That's fine.
I
don't expect you to.
Protect the name of the guilty.
Yeah.
There was one session I did that was much more of a rap hip hop session that I got hired as an engineer, and it was young engineer, so I was like eager to do just about anything.
Right.
And I was not the right fit for the gig.
Yeah.
And no matter what I could do, I couldn't work fast enough for him. So he ground me on my rate. I was getting a cheap rate for that.
Oh, geez.
I was getting yelled at the entire time because I was trying to keep up, but just couldn't quite.
Yeah.
The minute he walked in, the volume went to 10.
Right.
So getting my ears pounded, getting yelled at, and it's kind of one of those things that made me reassess, like, okay, what kind of engineer do I want to be?
Right.
I don't want to be that kind of engineer. I'm not going to play the video game of Pro Tools and be a wizard at it, because that's not the kind of music I like, that's probably not the right way to say it. That's not the style of work that I want to be doing. I would much rather hit record and listen and make some adjustments. And then you go back and maybe clean it up a little bit if I need to, but enjoy what I'm doing than have to make tiny little bips and bobs and blips and take the S out of this word.
Right.
It's part of it. I get it. I know. But I would much rather put the onus back on the musician to give me the performance that I then make a point of not fucking up.
Right. Nice. And what kind of, obviously you played trombone for a long time. Is there, like, if you could choose your ideal type of session to engineer, what would it be?
Oh man. See, if I did one kind of thing all the time, I would go crazy. I love working with orchestral stuff. I love working with big bands in particular. Really, just working with talented musicians is the most soul supporting thing that I've ever done.
Right.
I know I have a knack for being a little bit demanding. I don't consider myself a producer. I can.
Yeah.
I don't think of myself that way because I don't like to call myself a producer.
Right.
But I can produce a vocal. I can pull a performance out, and I have a knack for making some singers cry. Whether it's try to get them back to the emotional state or be a little bit.
Right.
Yep, you can do better. No, you can do it better.
Yeah.
And that's honestly my favorite way to edit as well, as the talkback button.
Awesome. Is there any current or recent projects that you can talk about that you can share? You've engineered?
There was a band I was working with called Lizzy the Triggerman.
Okay.
It's a 10-piece swing dance band type.
Oh, nice.
It's a lot of fun, and she's an incredible singer.
Nice.
Operatically trained, so she can be a little bit particular.
Right.
But that's absolutely her prerogative because she wants it to be right, and I wholeheartedly support that.
Right.
That one came out well. I was proud of that one. I think that was released just right when the pandemic hit.
And is that like with a full big band or what's the lineup?
10-piece.
Oh, 10-piece.
So it's 2 saxes, trumpet, 2 saxes, 2 trumpets, and a violin. Was there a bone player? I trying to remember. Yes, and one trombone.
Okay. You don't remember if there's a trombone, but that's your instrument.
Yeah, well, that's...
Oh, good. How do you work with artists do you ever work with them to like, craft their unique sound for a project or like overall overarching, vibe that they have?
I try to. The goal of that is really to have whatever they try and describe what they're going for. If they want, hey, I want something that's super ambient, or I want something that's, big band punk, which was her description of it.
Right.
Which I kind of really, really like the idea because, grew up in the 90s, kind of a grunge punk head as well.
Right.
And so just try and go for whatever that really means, whether it means like more distortion or means kind of more of a lo-fi recording.
Right.
Or, just try and set the tone for whatever, go for the emotional quality of whatever they're trying to go for. And make sure that I can facilitate whatever performance they're doing to help that. And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really why this gig is tough.
Yeah.
And why it's also, I keep coming back to it because it's the puzzle. It's challenging. You never really quite figure it out. And when you do, the puzzle changes. Right.
Exactly. And how does studio selection tie into those choices?
That's another good one. Oftentimes it always comes down between the square footage and budget.
Right.
So if you're trying to do just a vocal, it'll work in any room, but maybe Studio One would be overkill because it's a big room.
Right.
If that's the only thing that's available, and then we can make it work.
Right.
But it's probably not the ideal situation. Whereas trying to cram an entire big band in here,
a little tight.
Yeah, we could make it work. You'd be better off in Studio One.
Right.
So it's just filling the logistic needs of the space.
Right. Right.
And sometimes it's the equipment as well. Like maybe you don't have enough channels in here to do.
Right.
Like I know when Slipknot was in here, they had the entire console worked out, plus almost a whole separate console just to do headphones.
Oh, jeez.
Because they had a lot going on.
Right. Right.
Or when the Foo Fighters were in Studio One, there was a sidecar. I believe it's an 80-channel console.
Yeah.
And then there was a sidecar.
Wasn't big enough.
for more channels.
Right. Well, I like to kind of wrap up each podcast with the same kind of standard questions.
Okay.
The first one is what has been your most influential teacher? And I guess in your case, it could be teacher like engineering wise also even as studio manager. I mean, probably not hard to guess.
If it's a thank you list for all the people that have influenced me, we could be here for hours.
Yeah.
Frankly. Some of the most influential people in my life would probably be high school band director Doug Carmichael.
Okay.
Really good dude. And kind of help push along. Wrestling coach Gary Dahm, who kind of helped a lot with the work ethic as well.
Nice.
Tuba teacher Sam Palafian, who, may he rest in peace. He was...
Wait, tuba? I thought you played trombone.
Yeah.
Okay.
I played bass trombone, was my specialty, and so it was basically a slide tuba.
Gotcha.
He taught me the most important one of the most important things that I still pass along to all my students. You'll only go as far as your ears will take you.
Right.
Which, can be taken in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Candace Stewart for giving me the job here and giving me a chance.
Of course.
Learning from Ed Cherney, who may he rest in peace as well.
Yeah. The list goes on.
It's a long, deep list.
Right. Awesome. And next one is, what is your favorite reference track? If you have to go to a new studio and check out how the room sounds, what do you put on?
I don't know that I've really decided one.
Well, you work out of here a lot.
I work out of here a lot,
have
so
to do that often.
I'm spoiled. Trust me. It's not lost on me how spoiled I am. That's actually not something I've had to do because I'm so aware of what all of these rooms sound like,
right?
As well as NS10s would sound like in these rooms. because, you know, they're universally
Cool.
the same. They're universal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I probably should settle on something.
Yeah. That's okay. I mean, if you don't work other places, then
I don't really need
know
to.
everything intimately, then it doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah.
For sure. Nice. Last question. What would be one tidbit you have for an upcoming engineer?
My favorite phrase, yeah, man. This sounds like fun. Let's do it. I mean, I've kind of made a career out of being comfortable being slightly uncomfortable. Because you gotta be challenging yourself. You gotta be reaching up a little bit, but still knowing your limitations. Like, it's hard. I want to do all the things. I want to say yes to just about every project, but some projects I'm not the right fit for. So finding that, and then training your ears.
Right.
So if you can train your ears and then be a little uncomfortable and know that you're pushing yourself,
right,
then yeah, I mean it'll show that you care as well.
Nice, awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, sweet, man. Well played. Nice. Well, sweet, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely,
here.
my pleasure.
I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for listening to the show. As you know, I'm just getting this started, and I'd love your feedback on how I'm doing, if I should keep this going, what your thoughts are. Feel free to visit proaudioprofiles.com and send me a message. Until next time.